Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to dive into the exciting world of football transfers and my ideal signings for the upcoming season. The main additions I'm going to be focusing on are goalkeeper, midfielder and centre forward. Ideally, in an ideal world where we have unlimited funds, we aren't impacted by financial fair play, I think Manchester United currently need two centre forwards and an additional two midfielders, especially if we have some outgoings. Currently, especially with centre forward, we're left to Anthony Martial. Weghorst's loan is finished, and Martial not being available throughout the season because of injuries, he's not something we can really rely on. Over the years, his finishing has decreased, which isn't ideal also. Currently in the midfield, we have a severe lack of physically imposing midfielders. All we have is Casemiro and Scott McTominay. Scott McTominay probably isn't ideal for a top six football club to have in your midfield. We're then also left with Fred, who isn't quite good enough. Sabitzer's loan is finished. Eriksen isn't as physically as imposing as he should be. He's a great option for squad depth. And then, of course, we have Bruno Fernandes. Donny van der Beek, more than likely, is also going to leave the club. Now, let's delve right into it and get straight to the goalkeeper. As it stands, it's currently the 29th of June, and David De Gea's contract expires, I believe, today or tomorrow. There hasn't been any news of a contract extension. He put out a little cryptic tweet. We don't really know what that means, but I think I can guess he's upset with what's currently happening at the club. Supposedly, they have offered him a new contract that they were going to make him sign, and Erik ten Hag said, well, no, I'm not approving this. I don't want this to happen. So they offered him another contract with even lower wages, so they refused the paperwork to go through at all. Now, from what I can gather, they want David De Gea to stay on as a second choice goalkeeper. And I think we all know in David De Gea's mind, he doesn't really want to do that. When Ole Gunnar Solskjaer played Dean Henderson, he threw his toys at the pram. He was dropped before under Sir Alex Ferguson, and he also threw his toys at the pram and said, no, I need to be starting. Now, we really need to look at how the modern game has changed, especially with goalkeepers. David De Gea has never been a good distributor of the ball. He's not very good at long-range passing. He's not very good at short-range passing. He doesn't make the defence feel confident to enable us to play out from the back. Now, there are other fundamental aspects to goalkeeping. That's being able to claim balls in the air from crosses and corners, being fast off of your line if the opposition strikers are played in behind. The reason for that is because of Manchester United being a big club, we want to play a high line and press the opponents, keep them backed into their half. At the moment, we aren't able to do that. We're playing the deepest line in the league currently with Varane and Alessandro Martinez even still. One of the main reasons for that is because we have David De Gea in net, who he just doesn't have that ability to come off his line and sweep. Now, of course, David De Gea has always been regarded as a very good shot stopper over the years. He still is, for some reason, from a lot of fans. A lot of fans refuse to look into the data. He's actually marks around 150th in Europe for shot stopping, which, as you can imagine, it's nowhere near good enough for a top six Premier League team. And De Gea has a huge following, a huge fan base, and a lot of people say, well, when a new goalkeeper comes in, they're not going to be as good as a shot stopper as him. Well, that point is kind of depleted because the new goalkeeper we're going to be bringing in is going to be a modern goalkeeper. We aren't going to be signing someone who doesn't have the fundamental aspects to their game, like being able to claim an area ball, being able to come off their line, being able to distribute the ball, help us play out of our press, help us keep possession of the ball. Because if we look at the League Cup final, David De Gea turned over possession from goal kicks an extreme amount, and he's done that throughout the entire course of the season. Now, we're heavily linked with Andre Onana, who has never been my first choice. My first choice has always been Diogo Costa. The main reason for that is because I believe Diogo Costa is better in the air than Andre Onana. I know Andre Onana put on a very good performance recently in the Champions League, but I don't like to use a one-off game as the sample size. I like to look at them throughout the entire basis of the season, how many games they're playing, and Diogo Costa is better. He's a good shot stopper, so is Andre Onana. They're both very good at distributing the ball. I think Onana is slightly better. But for me, the main way Manchester United are going to improve is the upgrade on the fundamentals of goalkeeping. The distribution is a bonus because still not every goalkeeper is amazing with the ball. The only problem with the Diogo Costa deal is the price package, but Porto do need to sell players. Whether they do bring that price down is uncertain, but as it stands, 29th of June is looking very likely that Andre Onana is going to be the next goalkeeper of Manchester United. Now, if we move on to the midfield, it's looking highly likely that Mason Mount is going to be the first addition to Manchester United this summer. And I do have him on my list as well. It isn't really any surprise that we've been linked with him. He's played in Eredivisie, so Erik ten Hag knows him closely. The Mason Mount signing is the upgrade to Christian Eriksen, and then Christian Eriksen can play his role that he was signed for, which was to be a rotational football player. Mount is very good operating in the left-hand side of the field, in the left half space. He's extremely comfortable taking the ball on the half turn, especially from the left-hand side. And what we need there is really to create a relationship with Rashford, Mount and Luke Shaw, and an English connection on the left-hand side. Because what we have there is we have three competent football players who are confident in every area of the left-hand side of the field. So they're constantly going to be interchanging. When Rashford comes inside in the inside forward position, Mason Mount will go out wide. If Mason Mount's ever out wide, Luke Shaw will step into that midfield area and invert. Furthermore, on top of that, we all know how good Mason Mount is from a dead ball and a set piece. So an additional football player that we have who's good at set pieces is always going to be an added bonus, which is something we haven't always had great of over the years. Now, the only problem with signing Mason Mount is it completely takes away our ability to sign a football player who's comfortable in the first phase, because at the moment we've got Casemiro playing the defensive midfield role, which he's very good at. The only problem there is that Casemiro isn't that comfortable taking the ball off of the centre-backs and passing the ball between the lines, carrying the ball forward. It's not something he excels at, and if we look at when he was at Real Madrid, he had two of the midfielders next to him, Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, to do that job for him. Now, that has been something that's stand out to me in his first season at Manchester United, is our ability to get the ball from the defence to midfield to the attack. It just kind of falls apart, and we rely on Bruno to do it, we rely on Eriksen to do it. Eriksen doesn't have the legs to do it, although he's played many, many games this season. He's also not the best player to partner with Casemiro to help him out defensively in the Premier League. Premier League's the most physical league in the world. Casemiro doing that all on his own isn't really ideal. Now, the other midfielder is highly in demand. Chelsea want him. Arsenal have always been linked with him in the past as well, and that's Caicedo from Brighton. He excels in his defensive duties, and the other benefit is that he's also quite versatile. He's played at fullback quite a few times for Brighton this season. This gives Erik ten Hag a bit of tactical flexibility, where on paper he could start in the fullback position, but he can invert into midfield and play alongside Casemiro, and then we could have Bruno on the Bruno on the right hand side, Mount on the left hand side, operating in a sort of 3-3-4, 2-3-5 sort of position when we have the ball. Of course, the only problem with signing Caicedo is the price tag. We're looking at upwards £80 million to £100, which, after signing a new goalkeeper, signing Mason Mount, we need to be quite flexible on our prices, and we need to offload a lot of football players as well. Now, if we just quickly go through the numbers off the top of my head, David De Gea's wages are £19 million a year. Dean Henderson's reportedly looking to leave. That's another £30 million. Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay potentially leaving the club. That's another 50-60 million right there. So we're kind of paying for some of the transfers already, like Mount or Onana. Now, of course, I've got a hear me out signing for you. A player that you may not have thought of, a player that hasn't been linked to Manchester United, but this is the player that I like, and he's going to be relatively cheap. He's actually a relegated football player, and that's Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. Trust me, he is one to watch, and he's kind of the complete package as well. The thing with Dewsbury-Hall is that he's comfortable in all areas of the pitch. He can break lines with passing, he can progress the ball by carrying it, he's got a very good left foot, he's got a very good cross, he's comfortable in the first phase, he's comfortable in the final third, he can finish, he can score from outside the box, he can score from inside the box, he can link up play. He's a very, very good midfield player. I think for a relegated football player as well that you could probably pick up on the cheap, I would sign him. I would sign him in a heartbeat. He's only been recently linked to Tottenham, Everton and Luton, so not many people are in for him at the moment. And there isn't any hype around him at all, because the Leicester side had a really poor season, and the standout player for Leicester is obviously James Maddison. But I think Dewsbury-Hall has had a better season than him this season. And he was also very good the season before. And if you're interested in wanting to know a bit more about Dewsbury-Hall, I did create a comp of him on Twitter. I'll link that below. You could go watch it. I think some of you will be impressed. You really will. Now, lastly, centre forward. Look, my dream target is Harry Kane. Are we going to get him? I mean, probably not. The reason why Harry Kane would be so good for Manchester United is not just because of the amount of goals that Harry Kane can score, the amount of assists he can provide. When Harry Kane drops in between the lines, I have this vision, okay? Rashford from the left-hand side, inverting into the forward position, playing him in. Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, the third man runs, Harry Kane's ball selection. Pause. That Harry Kane's pass selection is phenomenal. It's one of the best I've ever seen. And when you've got all these players running in behind, you've got the third man runs, you've got us on the counter attack, you've got us building up play. Harry Kane's the man that you want in that position. And when you've got players who can finish like Rashford, like Bruno Fernandes, like Mason Mount, we've got Anthony on the right hand side, we've got Amad Diallo potentially coming back as well. That is orgasmic. It really is. But United need 2 centre forwards. How are we going to sign a player like that upwards to £100 million again? I'm not sure what will happen, but that is my dream. If we sign someone like Kane, we have to have a stopgap in a certain area. Maybe don't sign a player, sell a few more players, hopefully get good money for them. And there you have it. That is a breakdown of my ideal signings for Manchester United for the 2023-2024 football season. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Let me know who you want Manchester United to sign. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, please. It does help me out. And as always, thank you all for watching. Peace.